16th, 2023, the order. Roll call, please.
Director Meeks? Here. Director Stella?
Here.
Director Borstein?
Yes, ma'am.
Director Gaffney?
Here.
Director Kelly?
I'm here. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have Jason Pretty. Okay.
It's done.
Mark Wilson is not here. Let's just keep the agenda as is, and we can change it. If someone comes in and appropriate at the time. So at this point, I'd like to go to closed session.
1 minute. We need to approve the agenda.
Oh,
So I move to approve the agenda.
okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I'm going to go to closed session.
We all head out, right?
15 minutes. And, and we've got Andrea there.
Hi, all. Hi, I'm gonna step out and you guys can just let me know.
Did you stop the recording?
Yeah, you need to stop the recording.
That I did. No, I did.
About at 5:30.
At 5:15?
Oh, 5:15. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, we're trying. So we're coming out of closed session and we discussed the performance review of the general manager and no action was taken. I see that Mark Wilson is here. So if we can move item number.
That's what we need.
We did
I did.
approvals of the.
I thought I did.
We did. Approval of agenda is on it twice.
Yeah.
That's okay. 2 and 6 are both approval of agenda. That's right.
Which one is Mark?
Number 12.
Number 12. I suggest that we move number 12 to next.
Amend the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 12.
Okay. On this item, I'll introduce it. I've worked with Bill Benedetti on drafting a task order amendment for new engineering to do engineering services during construction for the lift station 20, 31, and 32 project. The reason why this is amendment number 2 is several months ago, the board adopted amendment number 1 to broaden the scope from just lift station 20, actually including lift stations 31 and 32, which have similar configurations and the very similar design for what's needed to modernize these lift stations. We're no longer in the pump station modernization phase. We've really dealt with the pump stations, which go into a pressurized system. Now we've moved on to the lift stations in our system, which are where we pump up into gravity systems. And so they're not as sophisticated, and yet still very sophisticated and important to maintain. New Engineering actually helped us with the infrastructure asset management plan update of 2021 and did a risk assessment for the different lift stations of our system, which number we have 12 total. And so these are 3 of the top 4 they're in this project, and the scope of this amendment includes a couple things. There's one, we had a cost overrun on the design for this project because we, at the owner's request, we added 2 force mains to the 2 pump stations in Riviera Circle to be designed to be rehabilitated. They're made of asbestos cement type, it's inferior type pipe material that's degrading in areas around our district, and they have a priority to replace asbestos cement type. So it would be good to replace these. Another cost overrun for design pertain to flow meters being put in for us to better monitor the performance of these pumps remotely as well as just reporting. So we rolled that into this proposed task order amendment. to the tune of about $19,000, and then about $150,000 goes toward having design services during construction. And the majority of that is for the electrical engineer, Todd Beecher, that works for as a subcontractor, sub-consultant engineering. And so, and I'll hand it up. Mark Wilson of Munich Engineering is here. He can describe some of the work. I at the finance committee, he touched on some of the interaction with City of Larkspur, because for lift stations 31 and 32 that are in Riviera Circle, they are on islands in a residential area, and it's kind of close to the homes, and so there'll be some coordination there with the city and neighborhood to ensure a successful project. I will make a note that we've issued, you might recall, in July, we awarded the contract to the contractor, Pacific Infrastructure Corporation, the same contractor that did the work on pump station 14, 24, and 25 that's wrapping up now. So there's familiarity, and we find that favorable going ahead, having kind of the same team working. But because of supply chain issues, like ordering electric panels these days, it's a 9-month time frame to get electrical panels designed and delivered. 9 months. So in order to meet contract time expectations, we've issued a limited notice on that contract, which doesn't get us into construction anytime soon, but it gets contract submittals laid out. You know, we line up the project for the type of materials that will be used to build the project at the 3 lift station locations. So we are working. The contract is working, New Engineering is working, Somas is working, but on a limited basis as we line up that construction, which at this point is estimated to begin, and correct me if I'm wrong, but around March of next year. So, so it's a summer of 24 project instead of a summer of 23 project, but it's in the pipeline. So, and I think that's most of my introductory remarks. I'm sure we're going to think of other things, but I want to hand it over to Mark Wilson. Thanks for joining us today and your assistance with this lift station project.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you again. So, okay, I think, you know, from my experience on these little pump stations, 31 and 32 probably are could be the most difficult because it's such a small. If you've ever driven around Riviera Circle, there's these islands at these crossroads. Corte del Bio is one of them, and then the next one. That's where these little pump stations are, and they've been there for many years when it was developed, when they were put in. And so both of them push on down Riviera Circle toward the canal, where it goes into a bigger pump station that pumps it underneath the canal into your bigger system on the north side. So these little stations they're not very big. They're like currently like 3 horsepower pumps. You're going up to 5 horsepower pumps. Yeah. But we're going to do the classic submersible pump station with the flights, and then your crew do not have to go into these submersibles. That's the overall beauty. The maintenance is also a really nice thing. You can just pull the pumps out, set it on the deck, and take care of it, clean it, or whatever needs to be done. So these 3 pump stations, 2 of them, 31, 32 on Riviera Circle, are a classic, what we call a production or off-the-shelf pump station done about 60 years ago by a company. You just buy all the parts. And it was they did many of those in the North Bay, and in my experience, I replaced several of them. And you know, they're kind of high maintenance pump stations. You know, they have suction lines instead of a submersible pump. You know, so if there is a problem, then in the suction part of the system, someone has to maybe go in there and deal with it somehow. So again, the flight stations, which Ross Valley has many of them now, mostly are the smaller ones, or mid-sized ones, or flight. That takes care of that. So that said, from the maintenance point of view, on 31, 32, as he brought up, the city of Larkspur it's in the right of way, these islands are, and your pump stations are in the right of way, in the island, in the right of way. And they have landscaping around them that's mature, which, we need that space, our contractor needs that space to work. He's gonna try to save as much the trees, there's a tree on one of the pump stations. So save the trees, but smaller shrubbery landscaping, we're gonna probably need to take care of, get it out of there and then put it back, much smaller, regrow it. I point that out because I know that's gonna be a possible sensitive issue with the community around there. I already obtained the encroachment permit from the city of Larkspur, and they know about this too. So that is looming at some point. Someone's probably gonna say, hey, we like the landscape, I agree, but the new station is submersible, so it's gonna be actually less above ground because it's submersible, and so it's just a deck. The existing one sits up about this big, and it's about 10 by 10 on each station, and a control panel. So we'll still need a control panel, but we'll be able to hide that with the landscape.
So the what?
With the landscape, especially as it matures. And in my career, I've watched that landscaping. One of my first jobs with Newt over 20 years ago was putting in those current electrical control panels that are on all the pump stations around that subdivision. And there's several pump stations around there. So I've watched them. Now it's time to replace them and upgrade them. So yeah, those panels now will be replaced in the new panels. So let's keep them coming up. Pump station 20 is right on the edge of the subdivision that the shopping center, Larkspur Landing Shopping Center in that circle. It's on a commercial building, very close to as you approach the entrance to northbound 101 and on Sir Benson Drake, and you guys go north on the freeway. It's right there, kind of tucked behind the building. You own that site, the district owns that site. So we're in a lot different situation. We're gonna be able to stay on your own property and work there. And it shouldn't really affect people. So anyway, I definitely can answer some questions.
One thing I touched on was just the supply chain issue, but also there's costs associated with the electrical panels.
Yeah.
As part of what the proposal is about. How would you describe that? Does it seem like more expensive than it used to be?
Well, electrical is, I've watched electrical go up to more than half the cost of these standard, typical new submersible flight stations. Since the pandemic, it's really boomed the I don't know if it's a consolidation of the industry that manufactures these things, and then I don't know if they also leverage the supply issue, because at first what hit us after the pandemic was, and we're still in the midst of it on projects that I've observed, is these delivery times. Generators are miserable and these control panels are miserable. They would tie it to the chip issue that we heard about with cars and stuff early on, but then you don't hear them talking about that so much anymore. It's just late delivery of these things, and how, and it's probably hitting the contractor pretty hard too. These general contractor who have to put this whole package together, it's delaying him, it's of course delaying the owners, you guys. And it's still not changing at this point. We're a few years down the road from the pandemic. So it's kind of miserable. It put when I said it put Crew Bixby, KBL. In the years I've been here in the Bay, North Bay, the people that would integrators and build panels, it's a pretty specialized business. KBL, kind of Fairfield area, I think, Tesco in Sacramento, and then a little company called CMC in Hayward area. They were the only ones around. That still is the case. Then last year we lost KBL, probably because of these lead time issues, they went bankrupt. And Tesco is in kind of, they're alive, and then they changed their ownership. So there's it has affected these middle guys who build these panels too, the delivery issues. So there is there is a real issue that we're experiencing for all the pump stations that I'm doing. Whether I'm doing it, whatever electrical engineer I'm doing it with, we're dealing with it and everything. Beecher on his work and on his proposal, he puts in there, in the last several years, probably 5 or 6 years, I don't know, the arc flash issue on the panels, safety for working on these electrical panels that have high voltage in it. That's really tightened down. Currently, what you guys are doing on older panels, you at least have to placard them. You have to put signs telling the workmen, you have to address your plant, which includes personal protective equipment, all that stuff. I think you've heard probably that stuff from your safety people too. Part of that is electrical engineer has to go into these, and he goes into these new panels and does the power studies that are required for all that basic safety stuff that you guys then turn around to your safety person and implement. So Todd does that himself on the projects he works for. So you'll see that line item in there for that, for Todd. We do the factory test. So whenever there's a chance whenever it's ready at the factory, he goes to the factory with usually someone from the district, Paul or someone from the district. One of the factory tests, testing it before it gets shipped. So, definitely, from my perspective as a civil, a lot less I have to do. I mean, submittals, attend the meetings, issues come up. It's modern construction, but definitely time puts in a lot more time. So.
Any questions?
That's at $25,000 for conduct power systems.
Yeah, for each, that's three. There's 3 stations or 3 panels.
And so feature is more than half of this changing.
Yeah.
So really electrical.
Yeah.
He attends the meetings too, the regular meetings.
And we have another lift station coming up, don't we?
That's
Why don't we order the panel for it?
Yeah, it's that'll be interesting because we're working with City of Larkspur, who's the mayor happened to come by. We have a joint project with the City of Larkspur, and so it will be an issue for that, but not just us, but they will share that challenge because they have a storm drain pump station that they're at the same time upgrade. And we're going to separate them. Right now they coexist. And so we're cooperatively working on a project to separate and modernize the storm and the sanitary district. That's the second priority station on our list. And these 3 are 1, 3, and 4.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Let's get that asbestos out of there.
This is kind of a must do right here.
Yeah,
Honestly, I was over there on Riviera Circle, dropping my son off or picking him up or whatever. They're not that attractive, those are the kind.
No.
We can make them sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no like the pump station that has ivy growing all over it,
Yeah.
on air, that actually looks like, we wouldn't want to mess with that. So I think we can put some plants, some shrubs on there to make it look better.
Maybe we ought to paint them green.
You could.
Well, it's gonna be underground, you said, right?
Well, they'll just panels.
Oh, okay.
And you build your panels on stainless steel or everybody does these days, it's just gonna be outside because I don't know how many times you walk by an old gray panel, just walking around the city and you see them rusting away. So you built that stainless steel, but you can't paint it. So it's not shiny, but you can dull it up with a little green paint.
We're redoing the whole building, so we have a lot of aesthetic experience now.
Right.
We can send our landscape designer over. We have one of those.
I don't have another question. Does the contract include with Precision? Does that include the force mains? The 800?
So with specific infrastructure, yes, and so they, I'm going from memory, but I think they might have had a subcontractor to do the pipe burst.
Right, they do.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so they aren't gonna do it themselves, but they've had someone on the team when they put the.
That isn't their thing.
Yeah,
No, it's definitely not there.
yeah, good question.
Any more discussion? I would love to entertain a motion.
I move we authorize the general manager upon review and approval of legal counsel to execute amendment number 2, task order number 8 with Newt Engineering for engineering services during construction of project 907 for a total not to exceed $173,381.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. So move, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Back to the witnesses. Open time for public to raise items not on the agenda or future agendas. I do not see any public here, nor do I see any public here. So, if you want to go to do a committee's report out. Ad hoc facility committee. Tom and I went yesterday. With our facilities, and the interiors are stunning and basically done. They're still trying to regulate the heating and air conditioning a little bit, but it's really, I think everybody will be very, very impressed. Outside,
Can I ask you about the downstairs and the
the dais is not there, the furniture that's where people will be greeted in the front is down there. It's very pretty.
Gotta get back over.
The electronics and the cameras, and I think it's pretty much all in. We're just waiting on the dais, but more than that, entry into the building. They're still working on the outside. And one of the things they discovered, which was a really good thing we caught it, was that the original builders made it so that the water from the roof was coming down the downspouts, but the downspouts were not going to stormwater. They were going to our French drains that were there, and the French drains were completely clogged with roots and other terrible things. And in fact, there was water that was coming up that nobody said anything about. I understand into the joints in the concrete downstairs in the Comcast section of it. Which would have ultimately caused some pretty good damage.
That's why they dug those trenches.
Yes,
I'm driving by there right now.
but they fixed it all up, and but that took extra time to do.
Change order?
Well, it wasn't. We were asking.
not a change order.
We had a trench going in alongside the building anyway, and we did take out the trees that were causing the
Right.
problem with the French drain, so.
But
But we're not using the French drain, and we kept kicking into stormwater?
We're replacing the drainage all along the side of the building.
Yeah.
but the seal, the roof will go into.
No, the roof drains,
The
yeah.
roof drains into stormwater now.
It does not, that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to. go
Yeah,
to the
done.
The French drains will keep groundwater from encroaching into the foundation.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't cause damage. Yeah, everything looks, so we're gonna be there eventually.
I have a question about the trees,
Go for it.
the other trees. We're keeping those 4, are they 4 out front?
There's a row of trees along
The road.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Yes, those are all being maintained.
They need water.
They do need water.
They're gonna
and
die.
we
They're
have
really
been
in shock now.
hand watering them because the irrigation system has been compromised with the construction.
Yeah, hand watering.
Yeah, well, we've got a really big truck full of
I'll
water,
go
so.
down there.
We have been watering them.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're the right size and they don't have a lot of leaves, so they're kind of the perfect tree.
yeah, they are.
Okay, well, good luck.
They are. Thank you.
Can we use recycled water for that? No, I don't think that reaches that level.
I don't know. I think we've been using.
I don't think so.
For it.
Yeah, there's not a recycled water line in San Francisco.
How about one of our trucks?
You mean from our
Could they
truck?
stop
Yes,
by there?
Yeah,
I don't think you can do,
No,
you have to
dirty.
treat it more to
Yeah.
landscaping.
Oh, good point, yeah.
Too much
What's got salt?
That's
Yes.
salt. Okay. Finance committee.
Okay, well, the finance committee met yesterday and we reviewed the monthly financials. We're on the downslope of spending more, higher expenses than revenues, which is common until December. But we're in fine shape on everything that we can see. And we both commented how good it is to have uniform financial reports every year. You can look at the same page. It's very good. And then we reviewed several of the items we're going to review today. And at the end, we had a preliminary discussion on how was new banking services. And Corey and Felicia have been soliciting, they solicited RFPs from banks. And it looks like we can get a lot more service and not pay for that. It's actually making deposits. And so it's a good program, and I think we're going to bring it back maybe next meeting.
Yes, November or December at the latest.
Yes.
That's exciting.
It's good.
Yeah. I was saying, I thought it was like smart covers for our finances. It'll give us a lot more information.
I think Corey's excited.
There he is.
There he is.
Mr. Excitement. Central Marin Sanitation Agency. Can we just, they showed a little 2-minute video. Well, hang on 1 second.
Keeping our water safe. In California, wastewater treatment plants are an emerging hub for recycling food scraps.
We take in about 10 tons of food waste a day.
With the help of $2.5 million in state funding, the Central Marin Sanitation Agency is upgrading its facility to keep even more food waste from becoming climate pollution in landfills. The new storage tank, which is funded by CalRecycle, is doubling the amount that we can accept. Through a process called co-digestion, communities can cost-effectively retool their existing water treatment plants to recycle food waste into products like fertilizer and fuel.
The co-digestion part is where we bring in additional trucks of mainly food waste, and we inject that into the same tanks together with the wastewater materials.
Within 40 days,
naturally occurring bacteria will eat the organic waste and convert it into biogas. This is our brand new cogeneration engine. This is a state-of-the-art power plant, if you will, that takes the biogas from our digesters and produces clean renewable power and heat.
So this will help create a greener, more circular economy in that sense. Soon, they'll produce more energy than they need and send the extra to their community, turning local waste into a local resource to fuel their economy, fight climate change, and lead California's march to a zero-waste future.
Very nice, very nice.
CalRecycle, who gave us that $2.5 million grant, they made that video to show them.
Welcome, everyone.
Same time as doing that. It showed us.
And again, if you have any questions,
Yeah, tonight.
Next video.
That's huge.
Yeah,
you too.
Just roll on.
Okay, so we also made some revisions to our financial policies, not a lot of major ones, just some minor tweaks to it. We accepted the completion of the second clarifier rehabilitation project. So we're getting moving on. We looked at board compensation, but made no changes. We also had a review of the other board payments, so we're right in the middle over there. So it's fine. We had a capital project report, the influent flow meter installation, biosolids hopper rehabilitation, and the outflow diffuser section survey. The influent was for San Rafael, brand new one. So we'll get better numbers for what San Rafael is bringing into the plant. And ours is in the same place this gentleman was talking about, where Corte Madera SD2 and our VSD meet is right at Sir Francis Drake as you get on 101. So they have the ability to get accurate numbers for that. So the San Rafael one, they change things. I hope they go up and we go down, but
we'll see.
What if the opposite is happening?
What?
What if the opposite?
Yeah, I don't think we like that. We'd want one more seat on that board again. And we also, looking at professional services to assess a variety of grit, replacement projects, grit classifiers. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. And we're looking at what's the best way to get the grit out. And so that's a study project, and we'll see what happens. Other than that, we did reschedule the board meeting. Was it the 9th or the 13th? I don't remember which one we chose. I think we chose the 9th. I can look at my phone.
I think it actually turned out to be the Monday.
That was the 9th.
You probably didn't follow one of your financial procedures of minor adjustments every year on board compensation.
We did not do any board compensation changes.
I know, but you're supposed to make minor adjustments every year to things like that. Because what happened? You let it go for 25 years.
Yeah.
And then you let go.
I don't think the same drivers of rates.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's an expense, not a revenue.
Exactly.
That's better.
That's what.
We approved Jason's review.
Oh, that's right.
We have great general managers. We will discuss later.
Central Marin is terrific. Sure,
I think so too.
good, because we're half of it.
North Bay Watershed Association.
I guess that's
This
me.
was a good one, Pam.
Yeah, it was hard to try and pull it together, so I'm gonna cheat, and they sent a summary, but there's the picture, which I'm glad I took. So we did, Michael was there, we did this fabulous tour of the Montezuma Wetlands Project in Solano County. We were out in nowhere, took us, I think, an hour and a half to get there. Very pretty in a lot of ways. There's just nothing there, but I saw a bunny rabbit. This is about the confluence of fresh and saltwater flows into the San Francisco Bay Delta estuary. So this project demonstrates a successful private enterprise program yielding public benefits, including enabling wetlands restoration at scale and providing a cost-effective solution to the disposition of dredge materials from all over the bay. So this company, small company, dredge company, it's been around 20 years. They get dredge from San Francisco Bay, and I think some parts of the San Pablo Bay, maybe.
Yes.
They take all the bad, you have to correct me on this one. They take all the bad sludge, am I right? That has probably chemicals and metals in it. They take it and bring it up on barges. And they dump it in the old farming fields in Solano County that are now dry. They used to be all marshland up there. So if you can go up there, I think, and look around, it's really gorgeous. So what they're doing is dumping the good sludge and creating, these are brand new ponds and has all natural bugs and plants and everything by saving the sludge and putting it elsewhere. Anything else, Steve? And it was a very powerful trip. It was interesting. We got to watch the tugboat push the barge in and all these massive whatever they were and the water and people really dirty. It was good. Did you enjoy it, Michael?
It's reverting back to its natural state by itself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think this was like something that was such an experiment. People told them we're crazy and they just kept pushing. And I think they got some grant money and then kind of went in like a group of people. So it's a win.
What do they do with the bad sludge?
No, they put the bad sludge in there too.
First.
And then they cover it.
Yeah.
Because heavy metals go down. And they create a barrier. But what Pam was saying is that most of the 17 years that they've been doing this have been fighting with the Army Corps and everybody else who said, you can't do this, you can't do this. They bought the land from Southern Pacific, who actually ended up loaning them half the money because they didn't want it anymore. And it was a good way for them to get rid of it and couldn't use it for anything else. But it's now being held up in the United States. as this is the way to do it. Montezuma Wetland Reserve is the way to do it right, and I think in a couple of 2 or 3 years, you'll actually be able to go out there and they'll have a park with toilets and benches, and it's gorgeous. It really is stunning.
Yeah, it's an example of beneficial reuse, and so you saw that with the CMSA example, beneficially reusing food waste. And, and then you're getting a resource out of it, energy. This is an example of what was thought of as a waste, which was the dredge material, the spoils from keeping the shipping channels going in the bay. Instead of treating it as a waste, treat it as a resource. Use it to raise elevation, counter subsidence from, diping off wetlands, and put the bad stuff below. Think about it, and then do the good stuff above. And then, lo and behold, you've now taken an old subsided dike area and turned it into a world-class habitat and a carbon sequestration sink. I mean, this is a carbon fixing machine, salt marsh, that rivals tropical forests. That's something I learned in grad school. So.
Phase 1 was 550 acres. It took them 17 years. Most of that was permitting. And the next phase 2 is 1,000 acres.
Which is right in the other direction.
Yeah,
Cameras facing.
going up further this way. And they expect to have that done much, much faster. Because now they've got
proof of concept.
behind it, yeah.
And Hamilton Army Airfield, north of Las Colinas, they did something similar. It's also a beneficial reuse of dredge materials there, and it's a great wetland now. And so, and there's more to do. Montezuma eventually will fill up, but this now has been a proven way of reclaiming wetlands and beneficially reusing the dredge material that was formerly thought of as a waste.
There's a natural deep water port that curves right there in the Carquinez Straits. And so that's why they can bring all the boats up.
Right, and then just pump it across.
But it's strategically important where they put that because it's in the briny water. The water rights issues don't come up. So if it had been a mile up towards the bridge, it would have been a problem because that's fresh water where it is now. And they have to, in order to get the sludge to where they can pump it, they need to get 15% of the original density. They put a ton of water in there and they've got giant pumps. And then they pump it through pumps so that they're not using diesel trucks. They truck it all over. If you ever get a chance to go.
I have his card. He would be even happy to come down and do a presentation here. Nice guy.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
And I think he knows somebody who used to be on the regional board.
It's a small world.
It's a small world. Okay, verbal report by our general manager.
All right, great. The thing that I'm at will be my fourth thing. So I have a fourth of them. My first update, of course, 1111 Anderson. We're on pace to move in for December 4th, which is a Monday, 1 week after we get back from Thanksgiving. And we're still looking into when we would do the first board meeting. We certainly will do one in December at the new facility. We'll see opportunities to do it in the November 15th board meeting, but it's still, we have to still confirm the audio visual system and everything. So, we kept it open-ended. But that's, I think, where we're at this time. So my second update is we did receive this month a friendly email from the Regional Water Quality Control Board that announced a compliance inspection with the new statewide general order for collection systems. And this is routine program that they have where they go around to the, I'm trying to remember how many collection systems are under the order in the Bay Area, but I think it's over 100. I forget the exact number. So there are a lot of agencies like us. And so it's our turn to do a compliance inspection. To do this, we select a date. They gave us some options and we selected Tuesday, November 7th. And so it's going to be a virtual inspection. They're not going to come out physically to our facility, so we would always welcome them. We're going to conduct it on Teams. In preparation for the inspection, the water board gives us an 18-page form to fill out. which covers the elements of the sewer system management plan that's required by the collection system general order. And last time we updated it before the board was in September 2019. That was on a regular every 5-year schedule. We have made administrative updates since the board adopted this plan. You know, that was a while ago now, 4 years. So we keep track of a change log, and we'll be discussing those things, you know, those details with the inspector. Paul Broomer will join me along with Phil Benedetti and Pat Filippelli, our business systems analyst and data expert. And a lot of these 18 pages revolve around our metrics, which we'll discuss later today. But also our capital improvement program. So Corey was very helpful in pulling up some numbers for specific projects in the overall capital program that were part of the forum. Another thing was the capacity study. They're very interested in making sure collection systems have adequate capacity to convey design storms. You might recall not that long ago, we updated our capacity evaluation in this year, January. So that's a good thing for this inspection, to get the latest information that we're really studying our system. And then, and I'll touch on something else that would be related to that. So anyway, we're excited about it because it's a chance for us to really show our work. And we're hoping this gives the water board staff some motivation to consider rescinding the cease and desist order. They've indicated that they're willing to look at that. And this might be one of the steps that they would take to verify our compliance as a part of that. So stay tuned. The third item, real briefly, we are in discussion with the city of Larkspur about transferring the property ownership of our pump station 14 site, where we had the ribbon cutting right there by the Hall Middle School. We're changing the lot line and recording, what the property shape is there, because right now the current lot line, the building isn't completely within the property, and the school district's asked us about that. So we've worked out with the school district that we would adjust the lot lines. But we learned along the way, the city of Larkspur owns the land, not the district, not Ross Valley Sanitary District. So we've informally reached out to them to say, and they had indicated, they had asked us actually, would we be interested in taking over ownership? So we're discussing what, the vehicle, how we might be able to do that transfer of ownership in a expedient, efficient way. So we'll keep you in the loop as that progresses. They've been helpful and open working with us.
Is it just the legal process that, they have, liability issues, but nothing.
It's a paper transaction.
Yeah, and so ultimately we like the lot line adjustment, the recorded documents to reflect that the district is the owner of the property as opposed to the city. Because it is probably, in hindsight, this transfer of ownership probably should have happened in 1993 when we annexed the Larkspur sanitation area. So we'll keep you in the loop. And then my final thing is I wanted to show you something with the infrastructure asset management plan update. This is just some words, but Patrick put this together there. So what we're doing, the brief introduction is we're doing a data model update of the IAMP. Okay, what does that mean? That means we're going to take these 4 things, these bullets that are up here. We're going to look at all the CIP work and special projects that we've done, the CCTV inspection data, GIS updates we've made since the 2021 update of the IAMP. And then we're going to look at how close we are to creeks and wetlands and sensitive areas, this consequence of failure data. And then we're going to run a model, the same model we ran for the 2021 update, and see what's changed, right? Because all those things that we've done since 2020 when we had this data. So if you roll this up, or can you scroll this? Okay, not quite that much. There, okay, good. So there's a table here that shows what's changed since 2020. In 2020, 49% of our risk was 2 or 3 lower medium. Notice we had no higher extreme risk assets. It's all negligible, low, or medium. And then these columns, the left column is our 2020 for the 2021 update. And then now we rerun the model. And so what Patrick wrote here is that in terms of the mileage of our system, we have had a decline in risk severity. That there was overall a higher risk in 2020 than in 2023, as it should be, right? We've done all this capital work, but this is a quantitative demonstration in the table. You can see we've had an increase in negligible risk, a reduction in low risk, and a big reduction in medium risk. And that's a huge deal. And now if you go to the next page, let's see it visually. So before is actually below. So today is above. So before we had, the gray is maybe our worst risk assets. And that gray part of the pie has shrunk in 3 years significantly. And this is all of our pipes. So this is the gravity sewer and the manhole side. 200 miles of pipe, all score. And then you see our negligible risk has really increased and our low risk has shrunk as well as the medium risk. So we're going to show this to the regional board. Say this is the IMP that we developed, that our board took the chance of updating that IMP on a risk-based model. We did spend money for that. It was about $1 million, but we can now update this data model ourselves. Patrick in-house has been trained to do it, so we don't have to pay a consultant to do it. And we generate this kind of output because it integrates our camera work, our CCTV work, and all the CIP work that we complete, as well as repair work. Yeah.
Remember, we went to the regional board presentation with Greg. And there was red in this chart. There was high risk.
Yeah.
I'll bet if you dug that up, you'd see there was red and like 15% or something.
Well, and I remember Greg saying to me that 5% of the system was causing 50% of the SSOs. Like there was a small amount of pipe that was in crummy condition that was resulting in spills. This progress in 3 years is amazing, but I imagine wouldn't be possible to go back further and compare the exact same data, right? You're saying this tracking system came about in 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be fun to compare because it used to be,
3 years.
And when Vivian West, is that what her name?
Vivian
West Yost?
Hausen.
Yeah. No, West Yost, right?
No. Well, she works for them, but her name is Hausen.
Okay. Okay, anyway. Yeah, she was
a manager here.
That's something, but
well, and you're right. And there used to be high risk. And actually, as I think about the capital projects that when I got here, we were on the tail end of doing the large diameter gravity sewer projects. They were high risk. That was large pipes that had the risk of collapsing and rots and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all been, a lot of the high risk stuff was addressed. And then our capacity evaluation also comes into this. We still have some areas that don't meet the strict design and norm standards, so we'll continue to pursue those improvements. But overall, it's a good picture. We still stand ready to respond, though, right? Well, if we have issues, we can respond, but our risk appears to be shrinking.
And are you going to finish the presentation then with the small collection system of the year? No,
that's all.
They know about that. Though,
Yeah. Well, we'll certainly let them. If they were to come to the office, they'd see the big flag.
Yeah.
It's gonna be virtual, so maybe I'll just
walk by.
Well, you put it in the background.
Yeah.
You did on our facilities committee yesterday, I forgot something. The warehouses that we pay rent for are almost all the major equipment is out and either at pump stations or here, and it's all going to be out by the end of this month.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
and we won't have those leases anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great. I should have said that.
Yeah.
But that was a secretary report. Because it's true. We're on track, and then during facilities committee, we saw that a lot of the shelving that is in the leased warehouse space has already been moved into our new warehouse. And thank you, Paul, and his crews it feels like we're ahead of the game because we don't have to be out of there till 31st.
And that's over $4,000 a month that we won't be paying for anymore.
Yeah, sure. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Verbal reports by board members and requests for future items.
I'd say one thing, I'd like to see if we can get council to look at the ways that we can continue to do our hybrid meetings with these Zoom bombs. If people noticed, I had a letter to the editor, I think 3 days ago, suggesting that we can have callers who won't show their face or phone numbers would have to, or maybe we'd have to have everybody use the chat feature, which would only go to the clerk of the board. And then the clerk of the board would read those notes unless she found, or the general manager found that they weren't not under the jurisdiction of the district, because as my letter says, the Supreme Court allows anonymous speech and hate speech, but it also allows boards to limit discussions onto topics that are under the jurisdiction of that board. So I'd like to keep doing the Zoom meetings. I don't like the way people are finding an excuse to drop them. But I'd like an opinion on that. A lot of these places are dropping Zoom meetings.
Oh,
San Francisco dropped them today. No more Zoom meetings. No more hybrid.
They were having.
Yeah.
but we,
I thought when we do.
We do have it now, yeah.
I thought when we do a Zoom meeting, people can't just talk. They have to be called upon.
Yeah, but the problem is there's Zoom bombing them. As soon as they start talking, they start spreading racist hate stuff.
But we can immediately just say.
It doesn't seem like it's that hard to me. I'll do it, you know.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm happy to look into it. I haven't heard about that for a long time. That was a big issue right at the beginning of the pandemic. And it seems to me that you should be able to mute somebody and then kick them out of the meeting if they're being disruptive. It was much harder to do that in the early Zoom days. But I'd be happy to briefly take a look and see how entities are managing that.
Remember years ago, my sister was a disc jockey on KTIM, which is in Santa Fe, and they did a KTIM flea market. And they didn't have the technology back then to cut, and there was no delay or anything else. And people would call up and just say the most vulgar thing, and 10 seconds later, it didn't click. But yeah, so it's important. Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, we're good, okay. Consent calendar. Anybody like to pull anything off the consent calendar?
I'd like to pull the, where is it? About the election.
What?
It's 11C.
1649, 11C. Okay. Well, why don't we pull it and see what, and that's about having the county be able to say the consolidated elections.
Do we not have any, say so, or is it all governed by the county?
It's all governed by the county. It's election.
So this is more of a, just letting us know.
This is required for them to put the election on the ballot.
Right. Sort of a pro forma,
Yeah.
if you will,
It's gotta happen.
item that the staff presents to the board prior to the election process that we need to file with the county.
With Dan, I spoke to him about myself yesterday. Just for the record, if no challengers, if the two incumbents decide to run and no challengers come, then we have the right to cancel the election.
Okay.
But I would say, though, nobody on this board has been elected.
What do you mean? I was
Officially, we all
elected.
were appointed.
No, I was elected.
Originally.
Yeah.
You were not elected last time,
No, you're right.
and neither was I, nor Marin, nor Tom. Everybody here has been appointed
so if you're not elected, then you get appointed.
by the board of supervisors. Are required to appoint you.
Okay, thank you.
That's why Katie Rice ran when she was on a post. She's like, screw it, I'm getting elected.
Did she appoint herself?
No, she didn't have to because she got elected because she was on a post, but she made them put the election on the ballot.
Does that answer?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
I move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've done 12. Let's do 13. Well, let's wait because Jason Fried may show up at some point here. It
I-
says.
Can make a suggestion that
Yes.
if the board would like to hear item 13 now, and then not, if there are no questions for LAFCO,
Okay.
you can proceed. And if you do have questions for LAFCO, you can continue the item till a little later in the meeting when he's available.
Okay.
It's entirely up to you if you'd like to delay the item or work through right now.
Marin, so
Let's go ahead.
let's go ahead. Full speed ahead, flank speed.
Very good.
Okay, do you want to introduce the item?
I'd be-
Thank you.
So this item is requesting that the board conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution with exhibits for reorganization of certain parcels between RBSD and Sanitary District Number 2, and also authorize the general manager to enter into a tax exchange agreement. This came up working with SD2 on several parcels that are at the district's boundaries with that with SD2. And actually, I'll jump ahead just a little bit because the board may remember Miss Julia Earl from November of 2018. She had been paying sewer service charges to SD2 for let's see, I know, yes, 28 years. And then her neighbor, who she had a shared lateral with, was doing improvements on their lateral. And she found out, and they were a Ross Valley Sanitary District customer, and she found out that, sorry, they were an SD2 customer, and she was an RBSD customer. And so she found out through this neighbor that she was actually being serviced by SD2, even though she was paying RBSD charges. So we wound up refunding her, it was to the tune of like $4,700 in the difference of sewer service charges. But more importantly, we wanted to rectify the boundaries between the two districts, right? Our service area boundary and SD2 service area boundary, as you can see from some of the attached exhibits, isn't a straight line, let's just say that. So it follows certain parcels based on our infrastructure, which is underground. And we don't always know exactly where it is until something, comes to our attention that may realize a discrepancy in records, which could be the tax assessor records. It could be the district's own infrastructure records. It could be a capital improvement project that reveals some additional piece of information. And when that occurs, we need to investigate further with smoke testing to determine exactly where the infrastructure is connected to and who's actually servicing each of those parcels. So the district staff and SD2 staff, and I'd like to give credit especially to Phil Benedetti, our senior engineer, and Christina Velazquez, our senior administrative coordinator, because they've been working very closely with Fernanda Stefanik at SD2 to really research several parcels that have been in question. And the first 6 are parcels to be detached from SD2 and annexed to RBSD. And those are on board packet page 62 and demonstrated in the attachment A, the location of each of those parcels. And thank you, the exhibits, which will be in an exhibit to the resolution. So all of these parcels, these property owners have been notified and have agreed to the annexation to RBSD. So they will be submitting their appropriately now sewer service charges to RBSD going forward, and the districts SD2 and RBSD have agreed that it makes the most amount of sense to assess them the Larkspur area rate rather than
try to negotiate with the county to collect property tax, ad valorem, a percentage of that. It's a little cleaner. And they're also, mostly in Larkspur. So this is going to be the best way forward, we believe. The next 6 parcels are detached from RBSD and annexed to SD2. You'll note that the majority of properties, well, in addition to Miss Julia Earl, which is just the example I was just mentioning, the remainder of the parcels are actually tax exempt parcels. So there are no property taxes associated with those parcels. And so that exchange won't have any financial transaction impact between the 2 agencies. However, LAFCO is requiring the tax exchange agreement because that is written into the government code that that's required. So again, this is a collaborative effort between not just SD2 and RBSD, but also LAFCO and the property owners to make these exchanges to clean up the district's thorough property boundaries, service area boundaries.
So it's a swamp. They get 6, we get 6.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, but wait, are we collecting property tax from Julia Earl?
No,
So.
no.
She's
She's on Larkspur. And we don't collect any property tax,
That's true.
right? And whether or not,
The end result is revenue. Or revenue. Right, or do they?
yeah, well, we'll get 6, right, we'll get 6.
Are revenues exactly the same, lose 6 and gain 6?
No, we'll gain 6. Because
The ones they're getting are like this,
Are
strips
tax
that aren't any houses. This is
Right.
along.
Yeah, but like, they should pay sewer service charges.
They do to
Yeah.
us now.
Yeah.
They were paying them to SD2. Now they're paying them to us because we're providing the service.
No, I'm talking about the ones we're giving.
oh, those don't have any infrastructure.
There's no, it's this little strip.
They gain 6 customers.
Yes,
Oh,
But we can't, right?
well, we lost her in
We lost it
2018.
Before.
Yeah.
We're just cleaning that up.
We're just cleaning that up, paperwork wise.
and we're getting rid of that really valuable bike path section, right?
Well, this is, I actually brought this up during the process that there were these parcels owned by the town of Corte Madera that were in Ross Valley's boundary. And we don't serve Corte Madera, we serve Larkspur. There may be 1 or 2 parcels that are technically in Corte Madera that happen to drain to us, but certainly a vacant lot owned by the town should be within the jurisdiction of SD2, which is the town. And they agreed right away to that. And so that's what a lot of this cleanup is. And hearkening back to our discussion on Redwood High School and San Andreas High School, they're taking this opportunity to clean that up as well, to their credit, SD2 and Town of Corte Madera and Jason Frieda LAFCO agreed that this is a good time to clean up that boundary issue as well. And like we did with these properties, we dye tested these properties to confirm they indeed went to our system or to Corte Madera in that one case. We also assisted with dye testing of the whole Redwood High School, Tamascal, and San Andreas High School campus to confirm that it all drains to SD2. And so it's appropriate that it be annexed to SD2. So it was an interesting oversight that we stumbled on when we saw that unpermitted force main discharge to our system. We helped uncover this misunderstanding that this really does belong in SD2 based on the infrastructure. So that's all getting cleaned up as part of that, which is great because now we're very confident in the boundary between our district. And it turns out the Regional Water Board really wants to see updated district boundaries. It's part of our inspection, it's for us to give an updated map. So we'll be able to tell this interesting story about how we clean this up. Also, LAFCO's interested in this and has supported us all the way. And Felicia worked closely with Jason. And they're interested in us doing something similar with San Rafael. So we may be back with more information and more minor adjustments to the boundary.
So Racket Club up, is it up sorry, Forbes, where Forbes goes up to the Rebel Rocket?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
You
don't,
know?
because there's a crest where somebody
Yeah.
told me they did vote for RVSD, but I thought they lived in San Rafael.
Interesting.
Or vice
yes,
versa.
and that's a great example, that where that goes over there, and then also along Bret Harte, which goes along to the San Rafael side. I think there's a couple of parcels that go, that drain.
And also like Macon grade when it swings around. You can't tell which agency they go through.
Yeah, we have to die test, to really verify.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
So
Really dialing it in.
This is actually a public hearing. At what point shall I announce that? I think we gavel. We've already discussed a little bit.
Now is fine.
Okay,
Yeah, open public hearing.
so.
Yeah, I would just, I mean, the having the public hearing may feel like, and it is a little bit of belt and suspenders. This doesn't feel like the type of action that would typically require a public hearing as a full, LAFCO process. But in light of the ambiguous language of the statute, we felt that it was appropriate to go ahead and do it to make sure nobody could criticize the process later. So I think I would just go ahead and open the public hearing, ask if there are any members of the public who have any comments or questions, and then close the public hearing. And then you can go ahead and make an action.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Were all these properties noticed about this meeting? Somebody,
They were all noticed about the annexation process, and a notice of the actual meeting was published in the IJ and in our usual agenda notifications.
okay,
And in addition, they all approved.
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
So let me just read this. Item number 13 is conduct public hearing in consideration of adopting resolution number 23-1648, requesting the local agency formation commission, LAFCO, to initiate proceedings for reorganization of certain parcels between Ross Valley Sanitary District and Sanitary District number 2, town of Corte Madera, in accordance with the Cortez-Knox-Hertzberg Act, and authorize the general manager to execute the tax exchange agreement. I will now open the public hearing on this item. Steve, give us a little background, which we've done.
Yes, there are 6 parcels in the SD2 boundary, within their jurisdiction boundary, proposed to be annexed to RVSD, and there are 6 parcels within SD2, Corte Madera, to be that were in RVSD to be annexed to SD2. And all the affected property owners have signed off on the proposed annexation.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, Christina, any member of the public interested in commenting is invited to comment. We can bring them in the order that they signed on. Oh, yes, and seeing none.
Seeing none.
Okay. And I now hereby close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
So do I hear a motion?
in light of the fact that all of the affected properties coming to our district have understood exactly, I move that we adopt resolution number 23-1648, requesting the local agency formation commission to initiate proceedings for reorganization of certain places between Ross Valley and Sanitary District number 2. In accordance with the Cortez-Knox-Hertzberg Act, the North Atlantic GM to execute tax agreement.
Second.
Okay, you go, Marin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous passing.
Right, great.
Okay.
I'm just gonna tell Jason he doesn't have to log on. Great.
Item number 14. We're buying the Batmobile.
All right, that's so item 14, we are proposing that the board authorize the purchase of the utility truck, utility vehicle for the principally used by the repair crew, replacing a 2005 vehicle with with a brand new vehicle. It's a little bit more, let's say, user friendly in the narrow steep roads of our district, and just more modernized and marginally a little more safe as well. So with that, I'd like to hand it to Paul Burmer, who would describe what we're proposing.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. Like Steve said, our construction truck that we're currently utilizing is a 2005. It's 18 years old. We're putting a considerable amount of time and resources into maintaining it and keeping it on the road. It's also a high body, high chassis vehicle. So the back of the truck is about almost 3.5, 4 feet high. So staff getting into it, loading equipment in and out. It can be a little hazardous at times. You know, we're lifting large compactors, generators, all kinds of good stuff in there. This truck, if you look at page, you look at page 86 of the board packet, it shows you a picture of the new body that would be mounted on the vehicle, and it has a lower step and work area so that you can actually multi-step into the back of the truck to get in and out to get equipment. This new truck would come with a new air compressor unit, a new generator, all new lights, basically ready to go. It'll meet new California emission standards that are really shouldn't meet anymore. You know, we're going to move into the next generation of clean fleet. So there is not any questions.
Diesel?
Yes, it is diesel. Yeah. One other note, this is also international, does contract with Sourcewell, which I brought up before when we purchased the Backcon and whatnot. It is a California approved source for vehicles, so we get the best discount. We will be getting a $47,000 discount on this vehicle by going through the Sourcewell provider. We did budget $350,000 for this vehicle, and it's coming in at $291,843. So we do have quite a bit of savings there from originally budgeted. In international truck, we currently have a couple on the Jetters. They've proved to be good vehicles and very reliable.
Paul, can you spend just a couple seconds and tell the rest of the board what you told us about the 8-ton truck and why it has to be diesel?
Yeah, so
it just doesn't pay it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so recently myself and Josh Hill and Courtney Buell attended the Marin Clean Energy Fleet Symposium they had at the fairgrounds. And what that did is it kind of showcased all the new electric vehicles, what people are doing. They had Marin Transit there. They had Ford. They had the Ford Lightning pickup trucks there. They had a light duty construction truck, like a service truck. They had the Rivians. There wasn't a large selection. They had electric Harley Davidson. There wasn't a large selection of utility vehicles for municipalities and heavy vehicles. We went to a couple seminars and then we spoke about the difficulties of large vehicles. The fire department actually stood up and spoke because they were even looking into a fire truck, and they're having a hard time finding the chassis. They're saying anything over 8,000 gross vehicle weight, they're not building the battery packs for them. Mm-hmm. So they would have to put 3 to 4 of those battery packs into one fire engine. And it's just not feasible at this time. The price alone, I believe it was Fairfax Fire Department was the one that was speaking. And
Fairfax would be Ross Valley.
Yeah, so
Fairfax is part of Ross Valley.
They stated they went to get a price for an electric fire truck. It was almost $3 million compared to 1.2 for a standard fire truck. So there are financial consequences with, you know, and then charging infrastructure. People are having a hard time getting PG&E and some people to pull these new services because it does take a lot more electricity to power it. So it is coming, but for these larger style vehicles, it's just not ready yet.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so somewhere in here about the size. So this is narrower, smaller.
Yes, and lower to the ground.
Yep, so it's easier to get around our little hilly streets.
Yeah.
You know, at some point, can we get an inventory of all of our vehicles and their age and maybe even odometer and.
We have.
Yeah,
I'd like to look at that.
you have it in fleet, I can get it for you.
Okay,
That'd be good anyway, just information.
it'd be good for client, so.
But you do that.
We do. Is there any value to this when part of the fleet van, get rid of it?
Yes, we can definitely, auction it off. We're not holding on to this one.
An 18-year-old truck, it's our only vehicle that does this. And is it a PB 33? Is that the one? Is this the P? Not
It's
the
an
new one,
MB, the chassis is an MB 607.
but the old one. Is that the PB 330? The
Um,
reason I ask is because we spent $1,550 to get to Diego
that was probably the crane, yeah, we were having crane issues with it. It's a UTO2, I don't have the exact number there, sorry.
The other thing, Doug, is that if we ordered it today, 1 year delivery.
About a year again.
So we have to make the other one take do. And it
Oh,
could
yeah, I was
buy
gonna ask that.
anything.
There's a supply chain issue here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Tom noticed, being a sleuth that he is, that this one doesn't come with a cigarette, a cigar lighter.
Cigar lighter.
A cigar lighter.
And that's true.
We didn't ask for that option,
No,
I think
no.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's part of the package.
But I also know it has an antenna, a shark fin antenna, roof mounted.
I have one.
Don't wanna brag.
You don't really.
I have one of the cigar lighter, but we have.
Yeah.
I'd like to get, we can remove the cigar lighter, put a UBS.
Yeah, we'll put a phone charger in there.
When you put it in reverse, does it make a Jaws theme song?
You might be able to program it.
Well, I like the fact that we got $47,000, which if we hadn't, the budget would be about right on. $350.
Now it's like an idea that we're not waiting till the other one's completely dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I just the idea of being able to walk into the truck
Mhm.
makes sense. to me.
Or lifting something up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Any other questions?
Well,
from
why
the-
did you pick international?
Because-
I'm a Ford person.
Well, availability is one of them, to
Yeah.
try to get into the queue to actually get a vehicle. Ford is not always on the source wheel, depending on what models you're looking at. For the heavier vehicles, you can have a hard time. Because they're just not priced very well.
Okay,
And then the international chassis is really low. It's really a lower chassis, so that's really what we were looking for.
all right. Thank you. You got it. I'm happy with it.
Then I move we authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to execute a purchase agreement with Peterson Trucks for a 2024 International Chassis MV 607 and truck body with service boxes in the amount of $291,859.18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So moved. Yeah. So we got a place to park.
I do.
Like
Anderson.
Yeah.
Item number 15. Consideration of adopting the year-end metrics report for fiscal year 2022/23.
Great, so this is that time of the year, each October, we, assemble the metrics for the previous fiscal year. It goes from July 2022 to June 2023. And always an interesting exercise because the numbers don't lie, we just have to look at them and interpret them. And hopefully see trends that are favorable, thanks to, all the hard work we do. And, so in trying to interpret the report, for the board and the public's, benefit in the staff report, which I want to acknowledge Patrick Filippelli, Senior Business Systems Analyst, who he became a father this week. Congratulations to a healthy baby boy and Patrick Filippelli's family. So he is behind organizing these data, doing quality assurance on these data before putting them into the report coming out of our CMMS and our GIS systems. And also want to acknowledge Paul Brewer, whose crews implement all of these programs that generate these numbers that help track our progress. And we set targets and try to meet them. So in the staff report, I tried to create a little roadmap for you, and I might walk through it to first touch on highlights and then touch on some details that require a little interpretation. So if you go to board packet page 88, which is the second report after the introductory speech, I have a section that says performance metrics highlights at the top. So you can see that there. And I bulleted these things. I want to really focus it. If you want to show the public and interested parties progress, then you can go to figure 1, page 8, which is board packet 98. And then you see that those first 2 months of 2022, July and August, we were at 41% of the inflow to CMSA. And that is that's the lowest percentage that we've recorded since we've been doing these reports. It came up a little with a wet winter, and it's settled in at about 46%, which is interesting. It might relate to groundwater table coming up. But we just want to highlight that we have a favorable metric there. Also, if you go to the next couple pages, page 10, which is board packet 100, table 1, the peak wet weather flows. I think it's very interesting this year. Go all the way to the rightmost column.
What page you on again?
Board packet 100.
Okay.
Page 10 of the report. If you go to the right column of both of these tables, I want to point out a couple numbers. On the top table, you have a peak, like a wet weather peaking factor of 14 in the bold there. But and then also 49 MGD, okay, and that's kind of lower. If you go to the left, you see 49 MGD is not the highest number, it's kind of on the low to middle medium side. I want you to look down the next table where rainfall, it's a white row. See that 66 inches? That is the second highest rainfall in the last 7 years. 66 inches. And yet, if you look up above, the peaking factor and the peak wet weather flow from this last year was quite a bit lower than in previous years at a 14 peaking factor instead of 18 or 17. 14 to 1 peaking factor. That's very notable. Out of all the numbers that were kind of floating around through this and the uncertainties around rainfall and flow in the system, that one stuck out to me, and it's an indicator that we seem to be doing something right, or that the investments are paying off in terms of stormwater getting in the system in a very, very wet year. So very interesting. Moving down my little bullet list on board packet 88, potential future SSOs prevented. Go to figure 14 on page 8 of the report, which is board packet 108. So this is the table at the bottom, and we call future SSOs prevented because we're documenting when we have soft blockages when our crews are out there. And this is interesting because on the one hand, we'd like to see less of these things when we're doing maintenance. But on the other hand, it makes you think, okay, what could be causing this? Are people putting more things down the toilet that don't belong? Well, maybe there's some other things going on, like, for instance, water conservation. Maybe in certain parts of our system that are flatter, that have relied on scouring from showers and washing machines, and and flows coming in the peak in the morning and that sort of thing. Those peaks are coming down through more efficient appliances and toilets that flush less, et cetera, et cetera. And our habits, right? In Marin County, we're using less water. So there may be more soft blockages forming. And therefore, it's important that we have our crews out there cleaning these. We still get the public education out there about not putting the wrong things down the toilet, but interesting trend, we'll continue to watch. Another thing, service call hours, I know it's figure 18, page 21. Service call, we've even had public education efforts recently. We did a video saying, call us first. If you smell something funny, or if there's gray water coming out of a manhole in the street, or something coming out of your building, call us, don't call the plumber, right? So you think, oh, maybe we're gonna get more service calls. But you look at the hours and number of service calls that are in these tables on page 21, and you see we're really coming down. And we have the records of the lowest number of hours in service calls. That's interesting, right? Because guess what are the most hours per service call? Public SSOs. So if we have less public SSOs, we're gonna have less service call hours, right? So we've reached a new low. In the 8 years we've been taking into account on service call hours, and 3 out of the last 4, if you look at the figure 17, we've really had a lower number of actual service calls. 3 of the last 4 years have been under 200 service calls. We used to have a lot more, 7, 8 years ago. So our on-call crews are getting called out less often and for less length of time. I think that's interesting. And
it may be the fiscal 21-22, so that when we started the new video, so that might have spiked it a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, right. Yeah, because it kind of pumped up. But also, might have been a winter. I don't know. We might have had more SSOs. That was it. We did have a little bit more SSOs that year as well. So,
Hey, Steve, I've always noticed that the pump station alarms are high. And maybe that's because of the lift stations that we're replacing. We're going to eliminate some of those. Need to go
The older stations definitely need more service. I mean, my first winter here, I spent 2 or 3 nights at the station over there by 33 because of some of the other stations were having issues. And we were, I spent a couple of nights out there myself.
You're sure not out of fun.
Yeah, he doesn't get overtime.
Riviera Circle, which we were talking about the other
It needs help, and I think we may be back there after we do the pump stations. We'll have some gravity sewer work to do out there too. So, sorry to the neighbors, but we're not done. Well, maybe the crown jewel is the page 27, figure 21, which is, kind of the master variable. It's in our mission. We want 0 avoidable SSOs. And this is a nice trend that we're seeing. The year before, we were seeing a little bit of an uptick, and we really took a hard look at some of our practices on how we do line cleaning and how to not shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit. And we made some serious improvements. And Paul's been a big part of that, implementing that. We've been putting our heads together on how to, institutionalize some good habits. And, the lateral enforcement program helps with this because those are potential SSO causing defects that are on private laterals. So it's all coming together in a good story this year. We hope, and we're doing our best to keep that level.
Do you have specifics on the volume?
Yes, that definitely is reported. We have it in here. Yes, it's on page 24. Map. This is your volume, 4299 last year. And then if you want to compare to previous years, you just go to the next page 26, which has the last 9 years. It has all the volumes, so you kind of look at, we had a 21-22, we had the giant storm, the 200-year storm on October 24th. That was 98% of, I think, let's see, 98.7%. This is on page 25. So in the narrative, you can get an idea of what the trends are. There were 4 SSOs on that day of that storm which were 153,000 gallons, which is 98.7% of total volume of the whole year. You know, it was that day, that event, you know, because we just lost control in a few areas. And we've actually put in, we've already put in improvements in 2 out of the 4 places. And in the 23-24 project, almost complete design, we build it early next year. We'll take care of the other 2 sites. We have those 4 SSOs. So it's something, you know, that really guides our decision making when we have the SSO.
And that was the time when a lot of agencies had huge businesses.
They did, and there was a water board item, an executive officer's report in December of 2021, which outlined all these different agencies that had issues with that storm. We were one of them.
Yeah. And
this happened again this year for the December 31st storm, and all these agencies had challenges, but we were not one of them. We didn't have any spill on December 31st.
Can I just say my favorite metric
Oh, yes.
of this is on page regarding SSO volume on page 22, 45 of the year in Netflix report. Board packet. Yeah, everybody has a favorite. Board packet, page 112.
0002.
That one. That would be my favorite metric,
Yeah, that's the amount of wastewater
that we spill of all that we
that we did not convey to the treatment.
That's always
Yeah.
pretty low.
That's a nice number.
That one really, right? And yeah, and then
Less than 1%.
Considerably less than
Hey,
1%.
you're a financial guy.
yeah, so yeah, we've gone over a bunch of stuff, but I would say then on page 33, we want to talk about favorite metrics. Maybe I'll fill this one in.
All right, what do you got?
The pipes with the defect, with the grade 5 defect. This indicator, I pulled out of our staff, you know, when we started doing these reports, because I wanted a system condition indicator. I said, what's a good indicator of the health of our system? I think the number of severe defects is a good thing to track for that, because they are ultimately SSO risk items. So you can see that over the last 8 years, or 7 years in this case, we've really had a precipitous decline. We're now hitting this point where it's interesting. We'll discover new defects.
That's what I'm
It's a dynamic system. You know, we got things like, you know, landslides happen, other utilities come in, bore a hole through the sewer pipe and they'll tell us. And, you know, this stuff happens. So the defects, I still think we're gonna, you know, continue to go down in terms of the number of pipes or the actual defect. But you can see it leveled out for the first time this year. It was very interesting. We had a lot of discussions about why.
And I was kind of thinking that's how many new defects we get every year. You know, so if you clean them up,
Right.
you get more.
No, it's a total. It's a,
Well, but also we don't have perfect vision of the whole system. You know, so when we say that there's 371 defects, it's an estimate. You know, it's based on our current tally. It doesn't mean we have detected every one. So we do find new ones, and especially in places that are hard to access. Sometimes we'll have bends in the pipe that prevent the camera from getting through. So there is certain parts of our system that's unseen. But when we make repairs or changes, then we can see new parts of our our system. So there's some subtlety. Yeah, and then finally, you know, I always point out the page 35 is like a master table of our repairs and our capital work. And as I mentioned in the staff report, at this point, since 2013, there's 10 or 11 years, over 80 miles of system repair out of our 200-mile system. 46 miles are addressed by repairs and 35 miles by capital. So repairs is outpacing capital. Our in-house crews have a friendly competition and they're winning, you know, against the rehab. But you know, rehab, we're still going to try to compete too.
And that's way less expensive.
You got it. You know, so that's a reflection of cost-effective system rehabilitation. Yeah, and then I won't go on and on. I know I'm taking a lot of time, but I did want to give you a reference, dive into the details in the staff report about why certain trends, they appear on the surface maybe to be decline in productivity or quality, but it's really reflective of a different way of doing things. So with line maintenance, the footage that we clean, we're actually spending more time per cleaning event because of lessons we've learned about not, sending debris downstream and creating an overflow later, for instance. So we refined our technique. So we're spending, I think it was 31% more time. So if you actually look at the hours of the work orders, this is something Patrick can pull out of our system. The amount of time per work order is 31% longer than in fiscal 1920 or 4 years ago. So because of the
2020.
Yeah.
I don't think we did that much work in 2020.
Well, 2019, 2020, sorry. 1920 was when this, you got it. So, it hasn't been that long, 100 years, you're right. 31, 4 years. So, we want to be careful about looking at the numbers in certain contexts and comparing them and saying that's a problem. Another examples of repair, we have repair numbers are down, but we did more open cut work this year, which takes longer. We dig as opposed to do trenchless. And then we also have refined that work to take a little bit longer for that because we're being a little more careful. Why? Because what we learned in that big major storm I mentioned was that in certain areas, the high pressure of the storm flows created defects out of our point repairs that caused them to collapse. So we're going back, replacing some of those and taking a hard look at, we're being very, holding ourselves to a high standard. And so the percent of the pipe repair reliability appears to have gone down, but it's just because we're more critical.
We chased a lot of old defects out of the system.
Yeah. So, we'll hopefully see that's come down, but at the same time, it doesn't reflect that the quality of the work has gone down. It's just that our evaluation and the standards have gone up. I'll note that energy costs really spiked this year. It's very noticeable in those graphs that are on page 13 and 14. And then we still use recycled water, but our recycled water percentage has come down. Really in an effort to clean more pipe, and it's an optimization exercise. It can fill up at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, but you can't really do it during the day. So, but we have the ability to do that if we were to come into another drought, we can raise our recycled water percentage up, but not to 100% and still meet our goals.
Well, it's harder on the equipment as well, right? Like there is a cost.
The quality of the recycled water at CMSA that we really appreciate it and want to reuse it. It has high chlorine and high solids, so it can take its toll on our fittings, in our pumps and that sort of thing. So that's why refreshing with clean drinking water actually helps extend the life of our maintenance system. So it's a balancing act. We still really do want to reuse wastewater where we can. But isn't that true? Is there any other examples of that?
We're working through some optimization right now because now that we have the small mini vac on, we used to utilize JT05 and JT06 for standby only. It was like an emergency vehicle. And those are a larger tank vehicle. So those were kind of on standby for standby. So what one of the new systems we just created was instead of having 2 staff members on each truck, we usually have 2, one for traffic safety, one to get set up. Now each staff member is each jumping in a truck and they're filling all 4 of them up with recycled water. And what they're doing is they're driving out halfway, dropping 2 of those trucks, then taking the 2 crews out, they'll empty, flush, come back, grab those other 2 full trucks and keep going out. So we're working to optimize a little better now that we have a small mini vac. And we've utilized that for standby emergency response only right now. They can use it during the day, but it needs to be ready at the end of the day for standby. But that freed up 2 more trucks that we can actually use the recycled water in. So now we're kind of piggybacking and dropping them off halfway out into the field so that they don't have to come all the way back to get more recycled water and they can just come back, grab another truck and keep going.
Yeah, so that was really recently when I was seeing some of the numbers drop off. You probably noticed in the monthly report. So maybe we'll circle back to that when we get to the monthly, because I can point out what he's talking about. Okay. Actually, that really concludes my, it's a pretty thorough overview, but I wanted to get the numbers a little bit from our standpoint. And then, of course, you always have great questions. If you have any questions specifically about any of the metrics, please do that.
The private lateral mileage.
Yeah, that's one of my.
Well, the numbers are the $6 million there, but on page 41, it says on 1.81 miles replaced. That's not from the beginning, is it?
Yeah,
Is that this year?
22, 23 grant funding. Yeah.
Not wrong.
That looks like this.
Yeah, that's this year. But how much have we replaced since we started the program?
34.8 miles.
Right, but that's only grant funded. That's one thing.
Oh, I see the miles.
Yeah, so what this graphic that's been put together shows the amount, the funds in the green bars. So that's the $1,500 and the $2,500 grants that we've given. And then the mileage is the length of lateral that's been assisted by grant funding.
So that's about not grant funding.
But that's been assisted by grant funding.
Do we know the numbers that maybe wasn't grant funded?
Yes.
What's that?
A lot more. Really? Yeah, it's like a total of 68 miles or something. We give that in the capital program report, which is next month, or maybe 2 months, because our data manager is kind of on leave right now. But if you go back, it's on the website. So if you go to district studies and reports under open government, all of our metrics reports are posted there. All of our capital reports are there. So if you want to see the 21-22 capital report, it's on there. You'll see the total number of lateral miles up to the previous fiscal year, and we'll update that next month or two when we do the updated capital program. So my guess is we're past 70 miles. And so you can see then over time, about half of the laterals replaced are grant funded. I think that percentage is increasing because we have a more efficient grant program now that we've modernized that. And that's actually shown in, why not talk about it, page 42, figure 38. Look at the number of expired or canceled grants last year. See that number? 0. That the last 2 years reflected the new program where we changed the process and the sequence of things. So we're making sure that people don't miss out on the grant. And actually the board helped with that. You saw that there was an issue of performance there that we ought to address, and I think we did. And thanks to the administrative staff.
I would credit the administrative staff more than the board recognized the problem, but thanks.
So I have a question. This is on the grant application by community. Now, why would Fairfax and San Anselmo have such high percentage? Is it the PR? Is it we're known and loved more by them? I mean,
oh yeah, that's a good insight.
Doing work on the street?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When the paving projects come through, our admin staff gets right on it, and Patrick helps do it, I think. And we get the word out. We send letters and saying, before you pave, be advised, we give in these instances, we give the hired grant. We'll give the 2,500 grant as an incentive to get the full lateral done before the paving project comes through. And so that's actually triggered a lot of productivity in the program. So great.
Not Ross.
Well, it's also keep in mind Ross is a smaller population.
It also has more flatland.
Yeah.
What does?
Ross.
Not up where he lives. I was going to say that Fairfax and San Anselmo both are incorporated and have town councils, and living in Greenbrier, Kentfield, either the county maintains the roads and there's a different relationship, or you don't have a monthly town council meeting where people are talking about sewer laterals and grants and such. But,
Well,
Woodlands is taking advantage of it, right? Open up there, yeah.
Well, Larkspur is the same population as San Anselmo. They're pretty far down though. Like,
They had a bigger boom, in prior years when they were really being very aggressive with their pavement management program. So I think it's just a cycle, really, Larkspur was, doing a lot of paving work a few years back, and now I think just in this past year, it looks like San Anselmo, and I know Fairfax had a pavement push.
And having another pavement push.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah.
there was a population of 5%.
no, Ms. Ford.
Any more questions, comments?
It's a beautiful report.
It's a-
There's a lot of good in it.
You could have this to the regional board.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have, and we will, yeah. We always do.
I'm ready to get a motion.
Oh, I think we just accept it. Do we need an emotion to accept?
Move that we accept the metrics, I think.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
No move. So accepted.
Item 16.
Item 16. So in closed session tonight,
Well, don't say what happened.
we talked, we discussed
The item we discussed.
and so yay.
Oh, yay.
I feel a little more in depth than that,
Why don't we reiterate how
Yeah.
how happy we are with
We are
the gentleman.
extremely happy, all part of us, with the performance of not only our general manager, but without him, and his people who work with him, just extraordinary with the RVSD way that it was implemented. I believe that our morale in the district is very, very good. We've accomplished tons of different things this year, and we went over everything, and we're all very happy. Anybody else?
Well, as our metrics report shows, we're making lots of progress in lots of areas. We're winning awards that we're being recognized, and one of the things that I took out of my review was that the new staff you hired shows that really good people want to work here. I believe that it's obvious from the people who try. So I think everything is really heading in the right direction, and we've got some neat things coming up. I think you're going to be real interested in the banking deal that Alicia and Troy teamed up. We're going to move into the new office.
get a plan for Larkspur.
Plans for Larkspur. I believe we're going to do a good job on our negotiations with labor. I mean, we have virtually no turnover from field staff. So just about every point, and we got high marks from everybody. And then there was a lot of mention of your support staff, which is the way it should be.
The team that you put together, extraordinary.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier. We all, yes, are very pleased with your performance, Steve, and it's reflective of the team. Don't cry. Winning awards, moving into a new building, exciting, changes, finding little parcels that belong in our district that we didn't know belong in our district. Yeah, and recruiting great people and maintaining them and high morale. It couldn't be more different than it was in 2012 when I first came on the board. Thanks. So, well, thank you.
So for me, I'll be brief. What I like is that you're open to new ideas. And I could ask you questions or be off the wall, not here, but on various projects or ideas I have. And I really appreciate that because it makes me feel like I'm part, you're actually helping the board and obviously the staff and the community. So that means a lot to me to kind of like go, oh, you listen, I guess is what I'm going to. And then it feels like, especially with the RBSD way, absolutely great document, especially for kids even, right? It creates a positive energy for us and staff, the public, because I we went to the conference and you were there, so I thought, wow. So anyway, that's my little bit right now.
Okay, so I don't want to screw this up, Andrea. At this point, can I say the 3 points of what we're going to recommend and then we vote on it?
Yep.
So, current salary is $294,812, and you will get the same COLA that everybody else in the district gets. And so your new annual salary will be $309,553. A merit bonus of 5%, which my opinion is if we were able to do more, but so that's 14,741, and a 1-year contract extension past where it currently is, which I believe is 2027. So we hope you stick around for
Until 2028.
2028.
Then you gotta go. Term limit.
No.
So that's our suggestion.
Michael, just clarification that the, if this is as part of your motion, that the increase, would start on what date? Typically, it is started as of November 1, just because of when Steve arrived on this job a few years ago, but it's up to the board.
Yeah, or I could make a recommendation to the board on this point,
Please
not
do.
Based on payroll?
Yes, based on payroll, which would be maybe October 30th, just a couple of days prior to November 1st, which would
So it
be
starts accumulating October
30th.
30th.
Right, just to be on a weekly basis rather than a daily.
Is that the beginning of that pay period?
It is the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
You should.
Yes, you can make a motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'd like to move
Yeah.
that we increase Steve's salary by 5%, COLA that everybody got to $309,553. A merit bonus of 5% of the 2022 salary, which is $14,741, a 1-year contract extension, and effective October 30th, beginning October 30th, 2023.
So move. A second. Second. You move it on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
That's pretty easy.
Thank you, staff, for making you look good.
You make it look easy.
Doug said, thank you, staff. We wanted to file.
Yeah, thanks, Christina will take this.
Thank you very much.
Wait, can't we give this go in the file?
The personnel?
Personnel?
Yeah, she's our personnel rep.
And should we have everybody turn these in because?
No,
You can keep them. I think in the past you kept them. You just do the contract.
It's not,
I know, I was talking with Andrea earlier, it's up to us.
It's up to you.
It's up
It
to
is.
us.
Don't share them outside.
Yeah.
Right.
we don't want everyone to know how much we're having.
Well, they're confidential personnel records, I think is what Tom was trying to say.
Yeah.
So, but I would make a suggestion that as a board, you decide to all individually retain them or all submit them to us for record keeping.
Yeah.
In other words, we don't want just a couple of the board members paperwork. It's all.
I'm fine.
I gave mine to Steve.
And you just gave it to Christina. Because he knows how we roll around.
Because he has great staff.
I'd rather give it to Christina too.
Okay.
I mean, I might not be here in 5 years, so. And I have it floating in my room.
No, it's in confidential.
I understand.
Yeah. So lock and key. Actually, I don't think you have access to that. That cabinet. Call me Christina.
Oh, wait a minute, doesn't he get to read it?
You can ask to read it.
That's what we gave to him.
Okay, well then.
I will. It's my action item.
Yeah.
He gave a copy to Kristen.
Because again, they're confidential, so there's a process in order to access them.
Okay, but the board wants him to be able to read his review.
And he has the legal right to them once we have.
It's innate.
Yes.
Okay,
We're not fighting here, Mark.
No, we're agreeing, we're agreeing.
so can you avoid something for me? Put a insert in here, item 16.
Good idea.
No,
No staff.
Right, no staff report.
No staff.
Yes. Excellent.
I got panicked.
So noted, yes.
We do say that, no staff report.
No,
Yes,
I like
because
the
that's
tab, there's no
agenda,
tab.
but,
Oh, I got messed up on that one too.
Yeah.
But I checked things off, so.
All right, you reconcile.
Okay.
I would just like to point out, I do follow the process of setting performance goals, and so I provided that in the paperwork to you. And so much like the business plan where we look, check things off that we address and move on, I am committed to these performance goals with respect to a smooth transition at 1111 Anderson, et cetera, working on the rate increases and this year, the MOU. And so, all those things, please do hold me to account to meet those performance goals. And I look forward to working with you and your great board. The ratepayers don't know how lucky they have it. Now, this range of expertise and knowledge and inquiry, it's really exceptional, and I really value working for you. And it's just so great the way it worked out for my family to, in terms of being nearby and then working on something I care deeply about. I know we're protecting the environment as much as any entity anywhere. And so it's just a privilege to work with you. Thank you.
Do you know why in the IJ, they got rid of the comments
Yes,
section?
they did it nationwide because there's other agencies and other groups the newspapers are. And it's just that some of the comments offended people when they're like, screw it.
Okay.
But that was the best part of the IJ.
Online, you mean, or the?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was nationwide. I spoke to the publisher about it myself. And, because I like those comments. And as I
Like
said,
those
so somebody gets to
Okay, item 17A. We had one SSO.
Yes,
Where?
Murray Park.
Where?
Yeah, it turns out that system that we annexed,
It's a problem.
it was an interesting case, right? It was sort of it was like an exfiltration thing, which, they're very rare. But this is where you have a defect at a pipe joint in the sewer that then flows underground and then reaches a defect below, like in a storm drain. So a crack from the sewer then flows underground and then goes into a crack in the storm drain.
How do we even know?
And then eventually found its way to the open channel, but it was dry. So it was a dry, ephemeral stream. And Paul, do you have?
Yeah, we had a resident in the area that happened to be walking by, and it had some regular, car wash flow or, household water use. And then she noticed an uptick in the flow. And she had called Marin Municipal Water to check in on it, and it happened to be us. But thankfully, she called us because it was the same day of the uptick in flow. But yeah, it was an odd one. It took some investigation, but we were able to patch it right away and stop the leak. But it got us a little bit on the flow.
Yeah, because we have to take into account a reasonable start time. So it had been going on a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And then you do a flow rate estimate. So yeah, it was over 1,000 gallons. But fortunately, it didn't go to a surface water that was, you know, that had habitat. It was just the stream bed, so we could clean it up and we recovered some of the volume.
Right, it really isn't like it flowed into the Cordillera Creek or anything.
Right, right. So it was fortunate that way, but yeah, it was in Murray Park. Did I mention it was in Murray Park?
It's very hard. We have some work to do in Murray Park? Is that what we know?
Yeah, you know, it's okay. It's not that large of an area. You know.
No, I didn't even know it was.
Meaning formerly county maintained. Got it.
Yeah.
So I have a question
And
on,
they've been maintaining the sewer and the stormwaters.
The county.
why don't we advocate for flumes, our district?
Oh, for the
Yeah.
measurement of water use?
Yeah. I mean, if you have one, you know, the toilet thing where you don't know it's actually running and you'll get a $300 bill. That happened.
Yeah, it's it's something, it's not that we don't, or,
It's a business thing, really, I guess, in a way.
yeah, it's, we're open, you know, to messaging, you know, for different things, you know, and there's benefits, I think, you know, to our commercial customers, for instance.
Absolutely.
Because they're billed based on winter flow rates reported to the municipal water district. So
We'll think about it.
something that we can consider for outreach.
We did offer that
Yeah.
to their people.
Yeah, it's more of a water district type advocacy or outreach message. But there is a nexus with our commercial customers and some others, right? And some institutional customers.
They're all considered as
Parks.
commercial, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And like public parks, you know. So it's actually something that we could look into.
Okay, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Not that expensive, 150.
So,
So, yeah, are we on the metrics, monthly
Yes.
metrics? Yeah, we had the SSO discussion. A couple of things, you know, I do want to point out, we've been refining our, you know, we get the pump station flow data now from our ignition software, Texas CMSA helping us out. So we have a new pie graph in our monthly metrics to show the relevant flow. So keep an eye on
Well,
this.
station 15 is.
Yeah, this gives you an idea how important the Kentfield pump station is. And then, and Larkspur and Greenberry are on a close second. They're close, you know, Greenberry's slightly higher than Larkspur. So what will be interesting for us, you know, who think these kind of things are interesting, is how this pie changes in wet weather. Because we don't, actually, I don't know. You know, so going into this winter, keep an eye on those percentages and see if, you know, see how they change, if at all, right? It'll be interesting.
Maybe, Patrick can put two, you know, like, get a drive day, you know.
I'd like a map with this, so
Oh, a great point. In fact, that's in the works. I marked this up for him and, we're burying him right now with all this stuff and then he's gonna take some time off, but that's coming.
thank you.
So that you
Of
will
where
see.
they are?
Yeah, you'll see what they drain. So
Yeah.
there's gonna be a map, like the maps we had in the annual-metrics. It's gonna show a color, like this blue color will be the color of all our system that goes to the Kentfield pump station. And this purple color will be all the part of our system that goes to Larkspur. So you'll get an idea.
I'm glad that you use these kind of colors. So many times I see charts in magazines, it's blue, light blue, darker blue. It's really,
Yeah, he does a nice job with the color. That's a big deal. So that, and then I wanted to point out on board packet 146, we were talking about recycled water. And you know, this really, there's a big rebound in September. So as you can see, we only get every 2 months, we get the data from the water district, right? So we update the cumulative graph every 2 months. So September is an odd month. So what you see here is a lot more potable use than recycled water use this summer. We were doing, we authorized overtime to do a lot of cleaning. And we recycled more like 18,000 gallons a month, which is a little lower than our average. I brought it up to Paul. He talked to staff. You heard some of the description of some of the changes to the procedure that they instituted. And I want you to look at this number in this table here, 40,851. Our long-term average over the last 3-4 years is 30,000. So in September, thanks to those creative ideas that staff came up with, they went above the 30,000 average, it's 40,000, which is more than they did in July and August combined. So we're mindful of trying to optimize recycle water. And thanks, Paul, and thanks to the staff for making an adjustment. To
You know, I noticed that the pipe cleaning footage was almost 70 miles fiscal year to date. 367,000 feet. That's almost 70 miles for pipe cleaning in this fiscal year.
Yeah, we put the pedal to the metal. We're trying to catch up. We're really doing an assessment of where we were. You know, we're kind of behind, and we did a lot of catch up last year, but a lot of roots came in during the drought. Because our sewers were the only game in town before the groundwater came back. You know? So we were catching up on that. Right? That was a big source of our work. And so going into this wet season, you know, we're doing everything we can to be preventive on storm-related overflows. Last year we had 2 storm-related overflows. So that was an achievement right there. And so we hope to match that or better this year. Good. Yeah, I think that's the highlights. You know, Paul gets his staff to provide narratives and the different stories. You know, on page 3 of the report, or page 4 packet, page 138. Paul, is there anything there you'd like to highlight? A couple things.
You know, as Steve was saying, we're really trying to highlight some of the good work that the crews are doing out in the field. But the first one I wanted to talk about is the operations and the safety programs that we do, trying to keep people safe. You know, we've done really good this last year. We haven't had hardly any workplace incidents, no real lost time incidents. Have been good. And, you know, electrical is one of the most dangerous things we do out here in the pump stations. Wet weather, where it's raining, we got cabinets open. So we did an electrical training and troubleshooting with Tony Lipka. He usually does it every year for us, but it's a really good program. He does a classroom setting, he talks staff through it, we work safety techniques, and then we actually go out into the field at pump station 10 and do practical, how to change fuses, how to do safety voltage measurements and whatnot, and to make sure that staff are comfortable doing it without harming themselves or co-workers. So really important part of what we do out there. So I just really wanted to highlight that. Another one, getting ready for wet weather with our SCRP, we updated this last year. We're also updating all of our emergency response plans. I know I've talked to you guys about this a couple times, but you know, 19 stations, it's a 700-page document basically for 19 stations. It shows staff where to pump to in case they need to bypass the station, how to operate under emergency situations, how to actually operate the different functions in the station. It's really, it's a lot. So staff putting a lot of time and effort into getting those updated, and we're getting really close. And over this last month, we did lift station 21, lift station 31, and pump station 10. So we're getting to the end of that, which has been a real big push over this summer, and really proud of everybody and how hard they've been working on it. And then we've over on San Anselmo, Saunders Avenue, we found an unmapped line. We were thinking it was an abandoned line. You know, we run across these every now and then with this old system. 90% full of dirt. There was an old snake hanging out, and come to find out it's a live line. So it was a good catch. It saved us another overflow because it was going to back up sooner or later. There was full of dirt, old plumbing stuff. So it was a really good catch. We worked with engineering, condition assessment, line cleaning. We got it cleaned out. It's mapped, it's rehabbed, it's ready to go. So that was good. And then like Steven said, and Michael, when they talked about the facility committee, the repair crew's really been working on emptying the warehouse. One whole side is completely empty. I met with the new owners of the warehouse, gave them a tour. They're really happy with the condition. So I think if nothing happens, we'll be out by the end of next week. at the latest, I think, so we'll be out, which will be really good. And then condition assessment, went and inspected for some odor complaints in 1912 Surf Francis Street. We were getting some fog or some kind of odor, and staff reviewed the restaurants in the area, the system. We didn't find anything. So we're thinking it may be something to do with the stormwater system possibly. So we referred that back to Fairfax Public Works in the county. And we'll check in on it once in a while to see what we can find. So that's a couple of the highlights. I don't want to go too into it. I can probably read to you guys all night. Any questions?
It's huge difference. They're enjoyable. They're fun to read.
Yeah, you never know what we're gonna find out.
Yeah. Right.
Well, last month we had that 10-inch line that was also full of dirt that we had found, and it ended up being one of our parallel bypass lines that just happened to have gotten plugged up maybe over the last winter. And so condition assessment and line cleaning are doing a lot of work out there and a lot of stuff. It's prevent SSO, so it's really good.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I'm wondering if the board would like to send an official congratulations to Phil and his family. Patrick and his family.
Patrick Philippelli.
Well, I'll tell you, we'll certainly pass along your good wishes.
Absolutely. From the whole board.
Yep.
Okay, our next meeting is November the 15th from 5 p.m. at a location to be determined. For their place and your place.
That's the TBD.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for.
Night all.